Hello everyone, my name is Marco. I'm a singer, songwriter, voice teacher from Italy, living in New York City. Welcome to Let's Talk About Singing. I started this channel to discuss different topics involving the art of singing, but most of all to start a conversation. I want you guys to be part of this conversation with comments, inputs, advice. If you agree or disagree with what I say, just let me know so that we can all learn from each other to navigate through this beautiful, complex instrument that is our voice. I want this channel to be directed to everyone, whether you're a professional singer or an amateur or someone who can just carry a tune, someone who wants to be good at karaoke with their friends. I think anybody can benefit from it. We will be talking about different topics, of course, technique, range, registers, interpretation, studio recording, vocal performances live. We will be answering some common questions like, how do I choose the right song? How do I choose the right key? How do I rearrange a song? How can I warm up properly, and so on. I would like to start today with a very simple but important question. What does it mean to sing? Sounds like a very philosophical question, right? I think a lot of people approach singing with a lot of negativity and a lot of insecurity. Most of my students come to the first class and one of the first things they say is something negative about themselves. I can't sing at all. I have a horrible voice. I don't know how to match pitch. And most of the times they do, and most of the times they're actually pretty fine. I hate my voice. I hear that so much. Nobody ever comes in and says, I actually have a pretty decent tone, or I have a very good sense of tempo, or I can match pitch perfectly. Nobody ever says anything positive. They all start with what they cannot do. And all of this comes from a distorted perception of what singing actually is. Let's take a step back and ask ourselves, what is the voice and how does the instrument voice work? We tend to not consider the voice an instrument, but it is, even if it is immensely different from any other instrument. In fact, unlike any other instrument, the voice is a physical, living, human instrument. We are our own instrument. Not just the vocal cords, but our whole body and especially our whole mind too is part of the instrument. And this leads us to a very important conclusion. If we are all unique human beings, that means that every single person in the world is a unique instrument. If you take 100 pianos of the same model, and I press the C key, and you press the C key, we will hear the same sound. But if I say, and I ask any of you to do the same, we will hear all completely different sounds. This is because the sound of your voice on a physical level is determined by how you are shaped. Not just how your vocal cords are shaped, but your whole face, your nose, your lips, your phonatory system. But it's not just that. The sound of your voice, it's also determined by who you are as a person. This is something that we tend to underestimate a lot when we teach, when we learn, when we approach singing in general. Your personality, the state of mind you're in, your speaking habits, your native language, they all affect the sound of your voice. Your feelings as well, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're angry, anxious, ecstatic, the context of the conversation that you're in, the subject of the conversation, all these things impact the voice in a very strong way. For example, sometimes people who are shy have a tendency of speaking quietly and softly. That could be a result of holding back air because of the shyness or tension because of the nervousness that they have. That leads them to conclusions like, I don't have a big range. I can't sing high notes. I can't belt. I can't project. They think that they have these problems because that is all they know. That kind of voice is what they use on a daily basis. They don't have any problem. I hear this word problem so many times, They don't have any problem on a physical level. Their vocal cords are fine. Their instrument is fine. The problem is just mental. It's in their head. But if you take a step back and you think about the fact that the instrument is you, then you can take it slowly, starting from what you have in this very moment, what you can do right now, and slowly improve it. Take a second to think about this. The instrument is you. You are your own instrument. So what you should do is start from what you have right now. Start from what you can do right now. Start from your own voice. And that's another important thing to talk about. Before singing, we actually approach music as listeners. The ear is very important in this process. We don't sing right away, we listen. And as human beings, we learn everything through imitation. Everything we've learned in our life was because of imitation. This sometimes leads us to a very common mistake, that is the one of comparing our voice to other people's voices. And yes, imitation is a great way to learn how to sing. But the problem is the thin line between imitation and comparison. Because sometimes we might end up comparing our voices to a voice that is completely different in every way, tone-wise, range-wise, ability-wise, We can choose songs that are too complicated, vocals that are so different from us, songs that require a control of the voice that we still don't have. And when we cannot match that, when we can't do the same things that others do, when we can't imitate properly, we tend to think that we can't sing. I tried that song, I couldn't sing it, I can't sing, I'm a terrible singer, I don't have a good voice, I can't match a pitch, I don't have a big range, I don't have a nice tone. But wait a second, what is a big range? What is a nice tone? What does it mean to sing? There are so many incredible, iconic artists that don't have a big range, that don't have what is considered a pleasant tone, and made history in music. But they're great at doing what they can do with what they have. Imagine Frank Sinatra introducing himself saying, "I don't have a big range." Or imagine Janis Joplin talking about her voice saying, "I don't have a pleasant tone." Or Mick Jagger from Rolling Stones saying, "I'm flat, I tend to go flat a lot." That would be so ridiculous to hear, right? So the best way to go is to start from what you have. Start from the range you can cover right now. Start from whatever ability or skill you have. At whatever level you are, it doesn't matter. There's no comparisons. We are all different instruments. Start from what you have and work on it in order to expand it. There are so many things that you can do instinctively with your voice already, and the word instinct here is actually a key word, and it's another thing that differentiates us from other instruments. Think about this. You would never go to piano class, your first piano class, and assume that you can play right away. You wouldn't go with any expectations of being good at all, because you know that in order for you to play the piano, you have to learn, you have to practice. And this is where the instinct can come in our favor. The skills that we need to develop in order to play any instruments are all skills that are not natural for us to perform. The ability to move our hands at a certain speed in a certain way. The ability to split our brain in four so that every limb can play the drums in a different way. Inhaling and exhaling at the same time in order for us to play woodwind instruments. All of these skills are not natural skills that we have. They're something that we have to learn, something that it's not part of our daily habits, something that doesn't come instinctively. And for all these reasons, we wouldn't expect to be great at them right away. We wouldn't go to piano class for a month and then after a month complain like, "I still cannot play Chopin." Well, duh, of course you can't play Chopin after a month. You wouldn't expect that. You would know that that's not a realistic thing. You have to practice, you have to put down a lot of work in order for you to perform a technically complicated musical piece. But when it comes to singing, when something doesn't happen on the spot, we take it so personal. We are so sad, so upset. We take it as a failure. We take it as if we're not good at it. We take it as an embarrassment. And this is because of how instinctive singing is. It's because unlike for every other instrument, most of us can match a pitch on the spot. Most of us can carry a tune on the spot. There are a lot of people who can't, and we will dedicate a whole video about that. But the majority of people actually can. Think about the main difference here. If you didn't know anything about music theory or notation, and I put a piano in front of you and I say, play me a C note, you have no idea where to put your hands. You have zero clue. But if I say, sing me this note, there are many chances that the majority of you can actually replicate this sound perfectly on pitch, even without knowing what note that was, or without knowing how on a physical level you created that sound. You just do it. You do it instinctively. You do it because you listen and repeat, and you know it's right because it feels right, because instinctively you know that you matched a pitch. That is the main difference, and that is why we're so impatient about it, without understanding that this could actually work so much in our favor. The fact that we can match a pitch instinctively, it's because the voice is an instrument that we use already, whether we want it or not, whether we want to sing or not. We're still using our voice every time we speak. We use our instrument in a non-musical way every single day of our lives. We don't have two pairs of vocal cords. I hear this all the time. That's not my singing voice. That's my speaking voice. You don't have a singing voice or a speaking voice. You have a voice. The vocal cords that you have are just two, and they work whether you want to sing or whether you want to speak. They are the same vocal cords. It's the same process. So if you think about this, the main difference between singing and speaking, it's really on the way you use your voice, the way you use your sound, the context, right? It's a musical context or it's a conversation context. You need to start with this mindset, thinking that the skills and the tools that you need in order for you to sing properly are not just this like bunch of concepts that are outside of you that you have to internalize. Think about how funny that is. How can you internalize something that is already inside of you? It literally comes from you. You are the instrument. There are so many tasks that we can already perform. We use our voice in so many different ways in our daily life, and we have no awareness of it. And that's another very important thing to acquire, awareness. You have to be aware of your voice and the sounds that you already can do. You have to identify them, analyze them. You have to understand how they're created and how they work, and work on them and expand them in order for you to have better technique. But it's not something that is outside of you. You already have it. You already use your voice in so many ways. If you just stop for a second and analyze how many different types of voices you use depending on who you're talking to, what's the context of the conversation, or how you're feeling. Our body is a perfect machine. If we let it work the way the body knows how to work, if we let our instinct take over, the voice has infinite possibilities of sounds if you let it go. Trust your body, trust your instinct. The mind sometimes can be an obstacle, but don't forget that even when it seems like the mind is taking over, you're still in control. You are the commander of your body and mind all the time. This approach will make the learning process so much quicker and so much enjoyable, both on a physical and a mental level. Learning how to sing is a discovery of who you are through sound. It's a way to understand yourself better, mentally, physically. It's seriously a beautiful journey of self-discovery. Instead of worrying about what you still cannot do, just enjoy this journey. Just enjoy this path. Enjoy every single step as an improvement, as something new that you've learned about yourself through sound. Thank you guys so much. This was my introduction. I really hope you liked it. Please leave me some feedback. Let me know what you think. As I said at the beginning, I want this to be a conversation, a collective conversation. Feedbacks, anything, inputs. I'm open to all kinds of discussion. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can be up to date with my new videos, and I'll see you in the comment section. Thank you so much. Ciao!